Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
This is Adam Carriker on Ticket.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, first and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Adam Carriker.
Welcome, everybody, into Adam Carriker on The Ticket. It is that time of the week. The fastest hour in radio is here, ladies and gentlemen. Join me, if you hadn't heard, every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday here on 93.7 The Ticket from noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. I'm live Mondays and Fridays. Check Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Carriker Chronicles and the Big Ten Show on Wednesday. Be joined by former All-American quarterback Steve Taylor as he drops that knowledge noon to 1 p.m. Central Time daily here on 93.7 The Ticket, your fastest hour in radio. Again, grab your lunch, join us, and hopefully we'll have un poquito amount of fun to a whole lot of poquito amount of fun each and every day here on The Ticket. We got a loaded show. My good buddy Jake, who does a phenomenal I want to give Jake a shout out for multiple things. Okay, not only is he a great host, okay, he's educating Vershawn and Terrell Farley every day on the captain. Okay, he's stepping up every day and filling in whenever we need a host, and he does a phenomenal job. He also edits videos. He edits the interviews. He puts out the thumbnails on YouTube. And so much love to Jake. Jake's going to join me. Feel free to hop in, but we're going to talk a little NCAA tournament. We got the hottest team in the entire country, NC State, 11th seeded NC State, playing what many people believe is the best team in the country in Purdue or UConn. Some people believe it's UConn. UConn is the team that I predicted would win the NCAA tournament. I know. I went so far out on a limb with that. All right. But we're going to talk about NC State versus Purdue. And we're going to talk about Alabama. Crap, are they good at basketball now too? Ugh. Alabama. All right. They're in the Final Four as well. They're going to be taking on the UConn Huskies. All right, Jake, whenever you want to hop on and join me, feel free to do so. But at 12:30, we're going to be joined. And I've been trying to get this interview, and Luke's been coordinating great with me. He's Luke McCaffrey. He's been getting ready for the combine. He's training. He's doing all these things. He's getting ready for a pro day and all this stuff, getting ready for the NFL draft. We finally coordinated. He's going to be joining me today at 12:30. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask him all those fun questions we've been wanting to ask him for years. But my good buddy Jake is joining me. So again, shout out to Jake for all the behind the scenes work he does, for all the on-air stuff that he does. How you doing, Jake?
Oh, not too bad. I feel pretty good here on a Monday, and especially with this Luke McCaffrey interview coming up. I'm glad you said you're going to ask him those questions, because it's a big interview, a big get. I think a lot of people wondering, what kind of took place here, and then how was he able to turn it around at Rice to the point that he's that like you said, looking to get into the NFL, and a team will probably pick him up here in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I'm excited. If I'm being, so I've had a good relationship with the McCaffrey family, whether it's Ed. I've never met Christian, but whether it's Ed or whether it's Luke. So I was kind of surprised he was willing to come on. But we treat all our guests with respect. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. There's just like, hey, what was the relationship like with Frost? What was it like with Adrian? Why did you leave? The moving positions to wide receiver from quarterback, which he didn't seem too anxious to do here. Why was he willing to do that later on? Things of that nature. Going to be fun. Okay, so right off the top, talk to me, Jake, your thoughts on the NCAA tournament so far, and then let's look ahead just a smidge to these Final Four matchups. Again, the hottest team in the country in NC State. Now, if you look at NC State, they won 5 games in 5 days to win the ACC tournament. All right, they beat Louisville, then they trounced Syracuse by 22 points, then they beat Duke, then they beat Virginia, All right. And then they beat North Carolina, all right, by almost double digits, not quite. Then they take out Texas Tech by 13 points in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Then they take out everybody's favorite team for about 48 hours in Oakland. All right. Then they upset the number 2 seeded Marquette. And then they beat Duke again, which is no easy feat. Okay. They beat Duke again to get to the Final Four. And then they're going to be playing Purdue. But let's start off with NC State, and then we'll chat just a smidge about Purdue. What are your thoughts on this red hot? What have they won? 10 in a row games? Let me look at this and double check real quick. 10 in a row, which is funny because they actually lost to Florida State to end the regular season, lost to North Carolina, lost to Duke by 15, a team they've just beat twice in their past 10 games, lost to Pittsburgh. I mean, my Lord, they lost their last 5 games, some of them kind of ugly, and then now they've won, what is it, 10 games in a row, 9 games in a row?
9, yeah.
How do you do that? Like, what are your thoughts on this? There was red hot streak and turning things around if you're NC State, the little brother to North Carolina, and Duke, who's the little brother to North Carolina. At least they're not Wake Forest, I guess. But what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, first of all, I do remember part of what really got me into college basketball and just college sports in general was a book at the library with these 4 teams within North Carolina. Just a book all about the rivalry and the back and forth that goes there. It is kind of interesting, and I haven't been to North Carolina, but I'd like to go there because what I was reading up is, you go to people go to North Carolina State if they can't get into North Carolina. Obviously, Duke private school on its own separate thing. So it's kind of fun to read about the rivalries and what goes in there. But you're absolutely right. I mean, talk about a state where it's hard to get any love. North Carolina and Duke, some of your blue bloods, your all-time greats, and North Carolina State has won a couple titles before, but it's been a while, and they did so as an underdog before as well in 1983. And this is the run, but this is the run that every fan, hopes for. This is the run that nobody can potentially see coming. They did get a victory, like you said, in the ACC tournament. Just started going wild and beating the likes of Duke and North Carolina. And so you think, okay, look out. Maybe they can beat anybody. And here they are making a Final Four run when they were, a loss away in the conference tournament from, probably an invitation to the NIT. This is just the stuff of magic. So I know it's not it's not Oakland, or it's not a team that you have to Google where they're from. It's a Power 5 team. So I get maybe that takes a little bit away from it, but this is the Cinderella story, at least if you're not a blue blood that any of us would wish for. And so I'm not necessarily cheering for them because I'm still Big Ten. I cheer for my conference in the Big Ten in Purdue, but if they do beat Purdue, I will be cheering for them in the final because it would just be such a good story.
So NC State, just to recap, lost their last 4 games of the regular season, lost 5 of their last 6, lost to Duke by 15, a team they've beaten twice in their last 9 games, lost to North Carolina, a team they had to beat, okay, to win the ACC tournament. I mean, just getting red hot. So if I'm Purdue, I'm walking in feeling like I'm the better team. But the question is, am I the hotter team? This is a Purdue team with Zach Edey, 7'4" million. Okay, the defending player of the year, the Big Ten player of the year, a guy who, when I watch Purdue on TV, my kids walk up to the TV screen, they point and they go, "Who is that?" Because they don't know who he is. And he just towers over everybody. He looks like a man playing with middle school children out there sometimes, a regular sized man playing against middle schoolers. But here's the thing about this Purdue team, all 5 returning starters. And I think about the last time a 16 seed beat a 1 seed. Okay, it was Virginia. They came back the next year and they won it all. And I can't help but wonder, I guarantee Virginia was uber motivated, and that contributed to them winning it all after being humiliated and embarrassed. I can't help but wonder if Purdue's the same way. They got all 5 returning starters. That's all fresh in their memory. And then here's the thing. Everybody thinks about Purdue. They think about Zach Edey, down low, dominance, inside presence. They're one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the entire country. So if you collapse on him too quick, they're going to destroy you from long range. So I think this game against North Carolina State, I think it's going to come down to who gets hot. I don't even know what the better team is going to win. If NC State stays hot, they're going to be tough to beat. If NC State, and they should focus on taking away the closer shots first. So take away Edey and make Purdue hit the long range shots. So if Purdue gets hot, they're going to be impossible to beat. If NC State gets hot, now if they both get hot, it's just going to be 4th of July fireworks in March or April, and that'll be great. I'm going to go with Purdue just because I think they're the better team. And if ever a game's a toss-up, I'm always going to go with the team I think is a little bit more experienced or talented or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to take Purdue. What's your official prediction in this one, Jake.
Well, I'm fascinated by what you said too. I mean, if it does happen where the teams that lose to the 16 seed come back and win twice, I mean, I never thought I'd see a 16 seed win to begin with. So what an addition that would be to add to the surprise there. Edey, by the way, has led Purdue in every one of these games in scoring and rebounding. So there's a clear path to beating Purdue. Like you said, they shoot over from 40% from beyond the arc if you do collapse on him. So it's not like that hasn't been tried here as his kind of reign of terror has been over the Big Ten. So I think Purdue, because of that loss to the 16 seed, because of Matt Painter's history, not necessarily this team, but Matt Painter's history at Purdue, not always living up to expectations. And I think this is maybe a second big run. He had an Elite Eight appearance, now his first Final Four. We all just kind of expect a collapse at some point. But now, after having beaten Tennessee and Gonzaga, and you just look at back all year, I mean, they beat Alabama, they beat Arizona, they beat Tennessee twice now, let alone the Big Ten teams. It's a battle-tested Purdue that's taken the best shot of everybody. So, I mean, I gotta believe with you. I think if the better team wins, it will be Purdue. They gotta make sure North Carolina State doesn't have any of that magic left. I think it ends with Zach Edey.
That's the only thing that makes me nervous. This isn't a best of 7, man. The best team doesn't always win in a one-game scenario. It's whoever gets hot. And if you look at the top 4 teams in the country coming into this tournament, all right, to me, there were 3 teams who were clearly the best teams in the country. UConn, Houston, Purdue, however you wanted to rank them. I had UConn 1, probably Purdue 2, Houston 3, but that was a coin flip to me. Obviously, Houston's out at this point, losing their point guard and best player. That was a huge impact in that game and their loss that they had. Okay, then after that, if you just look at the top 25 rankings, I've got Iowa State, okay, North Carolina, who I actually thought, man, it was a toss-up. I actually had Arizona beating them, but I thought North Carolina's experience, their average age of their 5 starters is 22.2 years old. Like the Oklahoma City Thunders is 22.6 years old. But alas, they get upset, they get upended. Okay, so to me, the top 3 best teams in the country, in my opinion, were clearly UConn, Houston, Purdue. And now I think it's UConn and Purdue that are left. Now, does the best team win or does the hottest team win? We'll find out when it comes to NC State or Purdue. But let's talk about I want to vomit just saying this team's name. I'm not an Alabama fan. Anybody who's ever known me has known that my dad raised me, and I'm going to say the H word, to hate 3 teams. Okay. Miami, for obvious reasons. The New York Yankees, because they buy championships. Don't at me, people. And I don't really know why, but Alabama was always that 3rd team. So I just kind of adopted an extreme dislike of them. And then, obviously they've been the best program for the past, 15 plus years. So that doesn't help. But now apparently they're good at basketball. God, that makes me want to vomit so bad. They were the only program in the history of college sports to go to a CFP top 4 college football playoff and then be a Sweet 16 team and now an Elite 8 team. And now, my God, they're in the Final 4 of the college basketball. I bet you can't guess who I'm going to pick, whether I want to pick them or not. It's not Alabama. All right. But you look at UConn, you look at Bama. I think UConn, the defending national champs, they were the odds-on favorite to win it before this tournament started. I predicted them, not a lot of confidence. I actually had UConn and Purdue in the championship. The rest of my bracket has been utterly destroyed. But at least I have a chance of getting my championship game right. So maybe I won't lose to my 6-year-old who's ahead of me right now in my NCAA tournament family bracket war that we're having, because she talks so much trash. She's so disrespectful to her dad. But then she smiles and gives me a hug, and I have to act like it's all okay. All right. I'm going to be quiet because it's obvious I'm picking UConn. What are your thoughts on this disgusting Bama basketball run and who you taking to win the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird because I do generally, you like the underdog story, and I think that would be Alabama in this case against UConn. UConn is just destroying everybody. Obviously, the defending champs. So the story's there for Alabama, maybe to play that upset role. They've got a variety of guys that can kind of get it done. Nelson kind of led them to their Elite 8, their Sweet 16 victory, and then kind of took a back seat. Sears is a heck of a point guard. Estrada. I mean, so they've got a good group, and all of this done, by the way, without Wrightsell Jr. the last couple of games. Hopefully he returns. Of course, Nebraska native and a flamethrower out there for the Crimson Tide. I mean, I can kind of agree with you. I don't think I was raised or born to hate Alabama. It just kind of came after watching them dominate. You want to see something new, and Nick Saban kind of just dominated for the longest time. So, but for the SEC, they needed this Alabama run. They needed the Tennessee run because all the other SEC teams struggled from the get-go in this tournament. I'll pick UConn, and I'll pick UConn by double digits because that's what they've been doing. I think that is lining up for UConn against Purdue, and I think that's what I want to see. So many times in college basketball, the best teams don't necessarily make it because, like you said, it's a single game elimination, not a best of 7. So you kind of get a mix. You usually get most of the best teams in the mix at the end, but I think all year long, we've been thinking it's either UConn or Purdue. Like you said, Houston maybe in the mix as far as who's the best team. I'd like to see 2 of the Goliaths. No David versus Goliath. 2 Goliaths going against each other in the championship game.
Yeah, I just want to see the two, what I believe are the 2 best teams in the country. I mean, they had the most amount of wins and the least amount of losses. Houston was that 3rd team. I think they had 1 less win, 1 more loss than Purdue. I think Houston finished ranked 2nd in the country. Purdue was 3rd, UConn 1st. But I do. I want to see UConn. I want to see Purdue. I want to see the defending national champs versus the team that lost to a 16 seed. I just want to see how that plays out. It's interesting when you look at UConn. By the way, who was the last team? No cheating. Who was the last team to beat UConn?
Oh, I know that one.
You should. I believe you do.
Yeah.
That way you can think of it on the spot. Sometimes it becomes funky.
That's right. That usually happens. Yeah.
Did it pop into your head?
It's Creighton.
Creighton. Yeah. Did you cheat? Did you cheat?
I may have looked at that earlier today.
Don't worry. I was totally staring at it on my screen. I definitely did not know that off the top of my head. But they're actually the last team to beat UConn. Okay, UConn has actually won, let me see here, 11 in a row. And every single one of those games, St. John's, they beat by 5. Okay, every single one of those games is not only by double digits, it's over 15 points, a lot of them over 20. In the NCAA tournament, they beat Illinois by 25. San Diego State was their closest. They won by 20. They beat Northwestern by almost 30, 27. And Stetson, okay, they beat 91-52, so almost by 40. This is a team that has been rolling and just dominating, okay? Now, when you look at Alabama, it's funny. They remind me of NC State, okay? Their last 4 games to end the regular season, they lost 3 of them. All right, they lost to Tennessee. They lost to Florida. They beat Arkansas. And then they lost to Florida again. Now, this is the SEC tournament, going into the SEC tournament, I should say. And then the NCAA tournament, they get hot. Now, College of Charleston, Grand Canyon. Okay, God, having to watch Alabama and Clemson play again, albeit in another sport. Oh, that was brutal. Really, North Carolina. And kudos to the ACC, a conference that I've been saying doomsday is coming their way for a long time. They got North Carolina, Clemson, NC State, all these teams into the Elite 8. So kudos to them. Or at least a Sweet 16 and making it so far. I'm rooting for the ACC to hang on. That's a topic for another day. There's actually a rumor that they might just take their top 7 teams and they might just make a smaller conference and keep the same amount of money, but just divide it amongst half as many teams. And that's their best play to try to stay around as a conference as a whole. But that is a topic for another day. Yeah, you look at Alabama, they had a rough ending to their regular season, then they get hot in the tournament. You look at UConn, they pretty much just dominated all year, the best record in college football, finished the season number one overall seed coming into this tournament, defending national champs. I want to see UConn, and I want to see all of that I just described, and I want to see the best player in college basketball. I don't know if he's got the best NBA future, we'll see, but the best player in college basketball and the team who's just on a mission, I want to see them play Purdue in the NCAA tournament championships. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I want to see too. One other note about that is if you look at UConn's 3 losses this year, they average 81 points per game, and their 3 losses are around 63. So if you can kind of hold them down, play at a slower pace, and you know, I think Purdue's a pretty good matchup for them. I think that would be a clash of the heavyweights. It would just be, you know, what I want to see. Like we said, what we would have been kind of wondering all season. But the good news is on either side is if you do have the upset. Then you could still kind of have that David versus Goliath story or the Cinderella, as we call it here in March. So I think the Final Four is just set up pretty well. It's always hard to predict those things. Your Final Four, it's kind of funny. You know, you try to be weird and because you know it's not going to go the way that people go. So you almost have to predict a bracket that you think is hardly predictable. And that kind of throws you all the way off. It's just so much fun. And to see it to come down to this end, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's the NCAA tournament is fun, but it's all I know I'm going to mess up. I know my bracket's going to get busted. So it's fun, but then it's kind of like I know what's going to happen. So then you try to predict the upsets, and then you predict the wrong upsets. And then the favorites that win, you predicted them to lose and this is why my 6-year-old talks trash to me. Okay, so you look at UConn. There are 3 losses, right? Kansas, 4-point loss, 69-65. Again, low scoring to your point. But here's what was interesting to me. Normally, if you're a team that wins this many games, when you lose, it's tight. They lost by 15 points to Seton Hall. Okay. And then their last loss, they beat Creighton the first time they played. But then the last time they lost, as we mentioned, was to Creighton. It was 85-66. It was 19 points. So typically, when you're a really good team and you don't lose many games, typically you would think that their losses would be closer. So you wonder, I didn't sit down and watch those games. So maybe there was an injury, maybe there was something, specifically going on that night that affected the teams on those 2 particular nights, really, because the 5-point loss to Kansas was pretty close. All right, I got a question for you. So the NCAA tournament, it's the most exciting playoff that exists, okay? It's also the least accurate in finding a national champion. Now, when you look at what college football has been up to this point, okay, let's just completely pretend the 12-team playoff is never going to happen. We're going to live in this alternate reality. Well, it hasn't happened yet. So up until now, well, let's just go with that. You either had the college football where 1 and 2 never played for decades, and then we finally figured out how to get to 1 and 2 and to finally play each other in the BCS era. And then people didn't like that. Okay. Then we got this 4-team playoff. So what I'm getting at is the college football has always emphasized the regular season. Okay. That's always what's been unique. It's unique to what the NFL does, what the NBA does. The college basketball has always said, crap on the regular season. Like, nobody cares. Let's just emphasize March, and nobody cares about the rest of the year. So what do you prefer? Again, the 12-team playoff hasn't happened yet, so we're going to ignore that. 14 teams, that's not even on the table yet. Do you prefer the college football model up until now, emphasizing the regular season and maybe not always finding the best actual national champion? Although I think the 4-team playoff has given us that more often than not. You can always debate that 4th team getting in, just like we're going to debate till the cows come home, the 12th team getting in, and then the 14th team in the near future. Okay. Or do you prefer March Madness, which is probably the most exciting, way of finding a champion, but probably the least effective? What do you personally prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fun when they go to this 12-team playoff. Like, if you just kind of separate itself and said, hey, this one year we're going to do it that way, I'd be all for it and be all excited about it. But I have long preferred the regular season holding its importance because it kind of extends the playoff to the whole season in college football just because of the limited amount of games that you can have. And so, I like the BCS era or any idea where a loss in September. And some people, the reason they don't like it is because a loss in September can hurt your title chances. But I love it. You have a Notre Dame, Ohio State game or something like that, a non-conference game in September, and just the heaviness, the weight of that game and trying to win that game at any point in the season could knock you from the national championship. And so, it's just kind of what you want. If you want the hottest team, then a big playoff's good for you because you'll find with the hottest team at the end of the year, injuries have already played out their way. But much like Florida State getting left out for the reasons they were this last year, I prefer your resume, and if you're undefeated, you certainly just deserve a chance. And that kind of hurt the BCS at times. They had some teams that didn't get the opportunity that were undefeated in Auburn. So I mean, it's hard to get a perfect system, but I will miss college football as it was before this year because I don't think it's going back. But I will always miss it. I don't think I'll ever have a more favorite time of college football period moving forward than I did, these past years, particularly the BCS. I was a BCS guy.
For me, I had a love-hate relationship with the BCS. I love that we finally got 1 versus 2. Okay. Think about 97. Nebraska would have played Michigan, but the Rose Bowl thinks it's special, just like Notre Dame does. Okay. So I love the BCS. I also hated it. There were times I called it the BCS bullcrap system. So I had a love-hate relationship, but I always have emphatically loved the regular season. Now, this is a topic much longer than the next minute that we've got. I would argue that devaluing Michigan, Ohio State, and devaluing games like that, which is what the 12 and 14 team playoffs going to do, because no matter who wins or loses, both those teams are going to get in 99% of the time. Okay, I would argue that devaluing that game at the end of the year, like Iowa State fighting to get in as a 12 seed versus, I don't know, Kansas, because they're pretty good at football now under Lance Leipold. Like, what's going to happen is the winner of that Iowa State-Kansas game, that game's going to be exciting now. Michigan, Ohio State's not going to be as exciting, but here's what's going to happen. The best teams, the most talented teams are still going to win the playoff. So when Michigan plays Iowa State, they're going to destroy them. They're going to go on to win the national championship. Eventually, we're going to be reprogrammed and retrained up top that Iowa State, Kansas doesn't matter. The only thing that mattered was Michigan, Ohio State, and now we've devalued it because Kansas, Ohio, Iowa State, yeah, that's awesome. Now they're going to go get killed. In about 3 years, we're going to be reprogrammed because right now it's exciting because we haven't seen it. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Iowa State wins because I want all the games to matter. I just think that's what's going to happen. Does that kind of make sense? Are you picking up what I'm putting down, or am I just kind of way off in left field? And if I am, that's okay.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I haven't heard it put that way before. So I like, kind of thinking about it. Well, because I have heard that argument that we want more games to be interesting. And I think you're right, though. At some point, who the best teams are. And that's what, that's why a 14 playoffs is pretty good. Once you get into 8 and 12 and now expanding to 14, like there's just, we know from year to year the few teams that are on top of college football, and it's not hard to identify. And I think you're going to see that play out. Now, you did have the first year you expanded to 4. You had the 4 beat the 1. Mm-hmm. But I think that's about as far as it's going to go. I mean, you might get an upset here and there, but overall, I don't know if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze as far as devaluing the regular season. But most of the monies, most of the ratings, most of the eyeballs are on playoffs. So it'll make more money. It will be more successful, but it just won't be the same as some of us traditionalists loved our college football.
Oh, I'm not debating the why. The why is money. I never brought that up. I'm not going to argue. I mean, let's be honest. There's no leadership in college football. People saw an opportunity to make money. It's about money. Now, I will say going to 6 might not have been bad because then Florida State would have gotten in last year. Georgia would have gotten in last year, who was definitely one of the top 4 teams in the country. All right, actually, so Luke McCaffrey just shot me a text. So let's go to break. Jake's going to give him a shout, and we'll chat with Mr. McCaffrey, when we come right back after these breaks.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
If the week's been too hectic to even think about dinner, or your family can't handle one more night of leftovers, then it's time to let Hog Wild do the cooking. Hog Wild's family packs are one heck of a good deal for a complete barbecue meal loaded with all the smoked meats, tasty sides, buns, and sauces you need to feed your family. Order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 3210 Cornhusker Highway in Lincoln.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations. Guess what?
What?
There's 5 Lincoln locations now. Oh my gosh. That's 25% more Lincoln locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside 93.7 The Ticket Studios, 1040 O Street.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Tuesday, April 2nd, versus the San Diego Mojo at the Viejas Arena in San Diego. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 8 p.m. with first serve at 9. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network.
Spring often marks the beginning of severe weather, which can lead to power outages. LES wants you to be prepared before the storm. Restock your emergency kit, update your info with LES, and if you encounter an outage, report it at les.com/report.
Your sprinklers are watering the street or flooding your backyard. If you're on a list that doesn't exist, it's time for Judson Irrigation. At Judson Irrigation, Lee or Lacey or Judson will make an appointment. You pick the time and they'll be there to fix your sprinkler system. Now that's service, a dying art these days.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here, summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Life is all about balance, so how about a little sweet and a little heat to make your week? At Wings and Rings, we're introducing our all-new Hot Honey menu for the month of March. Try our one-of-a-kind house-made sauce on the brand-new Hot Honey chicken sandwich or our Hot Honey shrimp and slaw. And of course, you can get it on the traditional boneless or smoked wings that have made Wings and Rings your go-to neighborhood spot. But don't wait, Hot Honey is only here until April 1st. So stop by Wings and Rings at one of our 2 Lincoln locations today, on O Street and on Village Lane.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
At Southeast Community College, community is our middle name. Our continuing education classes offer personal interest, traffic safety and licensing, online learning, and adult education classes across Southeast Nebraska or online in your own home. Learn to ride a motorcycle, how to start a small business, how to dance, or take a course to advance in your current career path. See the full schedule of continuing education classes online at southeast.edu/continuing. SCC, your path to possible.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
24/7 threat monitoring, expert tech support, streamlined communications. Allo has a solution for that. Protect your business with Allo Business. Comprehensive firewall security, Microsoft Teams voice-integrated communications, cybersecurity and IT support managed by experts. From productivity to peace of mind, Allo has a solution for that. Allo means business. Protect your business by visiting allofiber.com/business.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, my mic was muted. Now we're rolling. It doesn't do any good if I'm flapping my gums, but you can't hear me. Maybe that is better. Does Jake know something I don't know? All right. So welcome back to Adam Carriker on The Ticket. I'm going to be joined here shortly by former Nebraska quarterback, Mr. Luke McCaffrey. Now, if you've got any questions you want to ask me or you want to ask Luke, okay, text them to 402-464-5685. Jake will shoot me a message and let me know. That's 402-464-5685. I can ask them to Luke, or I can answer questions myself throughout this program as well. If you want to ask Luke, Jake a question at the end, he's going to join me again at the end. Feel free to send a question his way as well. But now I'm going to be joined by former Nebraska quarterback, a man who was at Louisville for a bit, wide receiver from Rice. Okay, Mr. Luke McCaffrey. How you doing, my friend? Hey, Luke, can you hear me? Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, sir. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So for those who don't know, Luke was here for 2 seasons, redshirted 2019, played in 2020 during that all too fun COVID season. He played in 7 of the 8 games. He had 2 starts. His first start was versus Penn State. They won that game. Now, he was the first Husker quarterback to win his first career start for the Big Red. Okay, since 2013 at the time, he had over 200 yards of total offense. He was actually also the 100th Nebraska player to rush for 100 yards in a game. He also had other games where he played well. He came off the bench, played really well, sparked the Huskers versus Iowa, played well versus Ohio State as well. Okay, had 80 yards rushing on only 9 carries and caught a pass and had a 47-yard touchdown run on the opening drive of the game as well. So, Luke, I got a couple of questions for you. So my first question is this. All right, what was your relationship with Scott Frost like during your time here at Nebraska?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, any time that your head coach is somebody who had been in your shoes as a quarterback at the same university, you know, it's pretty special to have somebody like that who's kind of able to not just relate with you from a understanding of the playbook and from a relation, but, you know, also understand the exact circumstance that you're under. And so, you know, I had a great relationship with him throughout my time at Nebraska, and it was good to kind of have somebody in that role.
So Mario Verduzco was the quarterback's coach at the time. So I'm curious, since Scott Frost was the head coach and obviously calling plays during your time here, former quarterback himself. How much time did he spend in the quarterback's room and with you quarterbacks helping coach you guys himself?
Yeah, he spent a lot. Coach Verduzco took so much pride in how he coached the fundamentals and how he coached technique because, that was his job. He was a quarterback coach, and, he wasn't responsible for getting a game plan. And so when it came to game planning, when it came to getting ready on Saturday, that was usually up to Coach Frost and then, Matt Lubick and Troy Walters.
So Adrian Martinez was the starter, okay, and initially when you got here, and then you got the chance to start versus Penn State. You come out, the Huskers win that game. Okay, you were the quarterback during that game as well. I'm curious, because when you're competing for play time, when you're competing for a starting job with somebody, you never know how that relationship's going to be between two guys. So I'm just kind of curious, between you and Adrian, what was that relationship and rapport like?
Yeah, I was so blessed as a young guy. I was the young guy in the room. And so I was so blessed to just have a person like Adrian in that room who, I learned what healthy competition looks like. We were both trying to push each other to be the best that we possibly could be because we knew that, whether he was playing or whether I was playing, that's what's going to be best for the team is for us both to be as good as we could possibly get. And, I think that was spearheaded just by his demeanor, his leadership, his attitude. And, as a young guy, I've taken so many lessons from all of these people that you kind of come in contact with. But with him specifically, we grew really close over that time frame because we both kind of got to relate with each other, compete with each other, and understand, every aspect of what we're going through as players.
Now, as I mentioned, you played well against Iowa, played well against Ohio State, got the start versus Penn State, got the win that day. Was there ever a moment in time where it's like, man, and obviously you wanted to be the starting quarterback, okay, but then Adrian would come and he'd start and he got the majority of starts. Was there ever a moment in time when it's like, man, not only do I want to be the starter, this isn't a negative thing, it's like a competitive mindset, like I should be the starter. Why isn't that happening? Did that ever enter your mind at all?
No, I think, you go in your freshman year as a quarterback and, most of the time, there's obviously different circumstances, but most of the time you're projected to develop, you're going to redshirt. So, going into my freshman year, I was just happy. I was stoked to be on the field at all. That was a blessing. And then, going into year two during the competition, I was lucky enough that, I kind of got to help out the team in other ways. And so I was really happy to play. Obviously, I'm doing everything I can to compete and be the guy, be the starter. But I don't think there was ever a time that I didn't understand what was going on from that standpoint. If I wasn't playing, I understood that, I wasn't doing things well enough to earn the right to put on the jersey and be the starter. And, besides that, I was sitting there just trying to help the team in any way possible, as a role player, as the starter, as a leader on the sideline, whatever the team needed.
I'm joined right now on 93.7 The Ticket on the Aloe Fiber VIP line with former Nebraska quarterback Luke McCaffrey, who went on to play and finish his college career really strong as a wide receiver at Rice. He's now preparing for the NFL draft as well. We really appreciate him taking time out of his busy pre-draft preparation schedule to join us today. So one thing I remember, and I could be remembering this wrong, my wife would tell you that happens from time to time, but I do remember one of the games that you started, because you started two games during that 2020 season. One of those games, and it may have been Penn State, it may have been the other one you started, but you guys came out no huddle, going fast with you as the starting quarterback that day. And I remember, that's kind of what we had anticipated when Frost was the head coach, snapping the ball. What was it, like every 23 seconds like they did at UCF? I know Chip Kelly did it every 18 seconds during his time at Oregon. But we never really quite saw that up-tempo, fast-paced offense, with the exception of maybe that one start that I'm referring to. And I believe I'm remembering that correctly. Kind of why do you think they didn't do that a little bit more often?
Yeah, it's hard to point to one thing in particular, but, you go into every single week and you're playing, in the Big Ten, all these great teams, and you got a game plan. You got to do a lot of that to where, you can't always rely on tempo and different things like that to where, you want to be in the right play every play. But, I think we did a good job while we were there using it in the moments that we needed it. And so that was one game, we went in knowing that Penn State had a defense that was a little chaotic. They were trying to blitz you. They were trying to, put you under duress as a quarterback and as a play caller. And so we went in knowing that tempo can probably simplify them down. And, there's so many factors that go into getting ready every week that, everybody doesn't see because it's behind the scenes. But, I think it was implemented at different points, and it all kind of just goes into what your game plan is for that week and how you're getting ready for the defense that you're playing.
So that 2020 COVID season, man, that had to be an insane challenge. What was it like playing during that year? That first the Big Ten wasn't going to play football, and then we did play football, and then it was 8 games, and it was an all-conference schedule, and then what you could do was limited, and you had to have that thing jammed up your nose every morning to get tested. Like, what was it like during that 2020 COVID season playing during that time?
Oh my goodness. I tell you what, that was one of the craziest times probably for anybody, but people forget all the way back to spring ball. I think we were 2 practices in when COVID really hit and the NCAA shut things down. And so, you don't get that time to be together as a team, to really bond as a team in the off season like you normally would. It was so weird not having spring ball, and then you go into camp and everything that you were talking about, getting tested every day, season getting canceled, and then, getting restarted. And so, that was a crazy time, but I think it taught a lot of people how to kind of overcome adversity, how to work hard and persevere through, obstacles that aren't always there. And so as a player, it was really cool looking back, because I think it helped develop a lot of qualities for everybody that I've, interacted with since then that aren't necessarily physical, mental toughness, perseverance, different things like that. And so I think it was really cool from that standpoint, but going through that season, you have no idea what to expect. It was kind of like everything was hitting you as it came. And so nothing was preparation how you wanted it. It was all, last second trying to catch up with where you want to be.
Yeah, there were some teams that played full seasons. They played like 10, 11, 12 games. The Big Ten played 8.
Yeah.
I think there were some conferences, maybe the Pac-12 even played less. I forget. At this point in time, thank goodness, it's nearly half a decade ago. It's hard to believe it was even that long ago. All right, man. So
Yes.
Nebraska had a chance to play in a bowl game that year. The team voted not to go. I'm just curious what that voting process was like. What were your thoughts on not going to a bowl game that year with Nebraska?
Yeah, it was such an interesting vote, and that's always such a hard decision, when you go into that. I think it came down to we had such a crazy season, and we had a whole lot of injuries at the moment. And so, we thought we were proud of where we were as a team. Ultimately, the leadership on the team decided that just with the injuries we had, with the season that we'd gone through, it'd be best to invest in the next season and start getting ready for the future so that we can really compete for, when we were going to be in the off season and we were going to be getting ready for the next, major game.
Were there ever discussions during your time here at Nebraska of you possibly moving to wide receiver, or were you just going to be a quarterback the whole time? Were there wide receiver position change, easy for me to say, position change discussions, or how did that go?
Yeah. No, I'm happy you asked that, because I get a lot of flack on Twitter. It's so funny, you don't see a lot of the comments, especially the negative ones, but every once in a while somebody will just be talking about how, he didn't switch at Nebraska and little things like that. And, I think it's so funny because there was never any talk of me switching positions at Nebraska. I never got asked to. During that COVID season, we had a scrimmage, and our running back had to tie his shoe or something. So I ran in, and that was kind of what we built that other package off of, just because we thought it was fun. I wanted to help the team in any way possible, but, never once when I was there did I ever get asked to switch positions.
Okay, so I think that's what kind of led some folks to believe that maybe the wide receiver discussion had come up, and maybe that wasn't crazy, something you really were crazy about. Maybe that led to you transferring. I don't know. There's so many transfers now in college football. It's very commonplace. It's not even that big of a deal. But I'm just kind of curious what ultimately led to you transferring elsewhere.
Yeah, there was a lot. I went through that whole COVID year, and I think by the end of the year, I wasn't playing very well. I don't think that I had in my own eyes, made the most of my, opportunity and potential. And, I saw that Adrian was the guy, and I was rooting for him all the way I could, but I also knew at the time I needed to develop, and I needed to get a lot better than where I was. Cause I wasn't very good compared to where, I thought I could have been at the time. And so I just thought finding a place where I could go somewhere and kind of get that development, get that learning. And I'm so thankful that I found Rice with Coach Bloomgren, because, they run such a pro style offense to where I kind of got the mental development of every one of our plays had a kill, has a check. You're alerting versus cover zero versus SAS. You're making kills off the 3-tech. For those of you who kind of understand that terminology. And so it was great going through that, especially now as I'm going through the combine and going through the Senior Bowl and all this, to where, I really feel like I'm a step ahead of a lot of guys just from the mental standpoint, because I kind of understand, that aspect of play calling and going through a pro style offense. And so that was such a blessing to kind of find this spot at Rice here. And, I'm so thankful for Coach Bloom, Coach Tuiasa Sopo, our offensive coordinator, and then my receiver coach for the last couple of years, Mike Kershaw.
So this was the only question I wrote down, and I was like, man, I don't know if he's going to like this question or not. So I'm going to ask it. You answer it however you want. Okay, you go to Louisville. I think it's like 7 days or a week. Why the quick stop at Louisville before you go to Rice?
Yeah, it was such a crazy time for me because you weren't allowed to visit schools. You weren't allowed to do anything like that. So I really went into that situation blind. I think a big part of me too, if I'm being completely vulnerable, was a little blindsided by the Power 5 idea. And, I felt a little insecure in going to a group of 5 school. And I think when I got to Louisville, I realized that, that wasn't necessarily the best fit. I think in my head, I was probably trying to force it. And, I just had a really big change of heart when I got there. And I realized that, I'd made a mistake, and it was time that, I had never done anything there. I hadn't worked out or done anything like that. I was just committed there. And so I kind of got to take that opportunity to, make a decision to go to Rice. And I think that's the best decision that I made in my entire 5 years of college. I wouldn't take that moment back for anything, even though it probably didn't play out exactly how somebody dreams when you're going through that process.
So you go to Rice. Obviously, the topic of playing wide receiver at Rice is brought up at some point because you went to wide receiver. So when that was brought up, what was your initial reaction? Was your heart set on playing quarterback? Were you like, hey, man, no problem, let's go to wide receiver? Like, what were your thoughts when that topic was brought up?
Yeah, so I actually, I was the one that kind of came up with the idea. I went through that first year at Rice. I was here 3 years. And that first year I was playing quarterback, and I kind of found myself in a similar spot after the 2020 season, where, I didn't think I made the most of my potential. I didn't think I was playing to where, I don't think I helped the team as much as I possibly could have. And, that's not a great feeling for a player. I know anytime that you're not helping the team or you're hurting the team, it's not a very good feeling, because you put so much work into it, and, you grow so close with all your teammates. And so after that year, I really took a month of my life to just figure out kind of what my values are, why those are my values, and how it affects my life. So, I kind of just started out by, listing out, hey, why do I work hard? Why do I care about football? Why am I passionate about the things I'm passionate about? And one of the major things I learned was that I just love the game of football. And, I wanted to help the team in any way possible. So that was kind of when I came to Coach Bloomgren and talked about, hey, what would you think of this? And I've never been more thankful for how a coach handled that situation, because he gave me a great piece of advice and a compliment that I'll never leave, that will never leave my mind, which was, whether you stick at quarterback or whether you switch positions, it's going to take a whole lot of work, but it's going to pay off one way or another, just because of the way that I approached the game. And so I was really thankful for him saying that. That instilled confidence in me. And ultimately, obviously, I decided to switch positions. We started out by not knowing what that would look like. We talked about playing free safety, talked about playing running back, talked about playing just about every position on the field other than O&D line. And, ultimately we started at receiver. It kind of stuck. We liked it. And we kind of just rolled from there. I think I'm still so young in that process, but I think the way that Coach Bloomgren, let that play out and letting it be organic, kind of letting me come to him. And then, the way we've been able to develop from there has just instilled a confidence in me that just is it a testament to how good of a coach he is and how great of a mentor and a leader he is for this program. And then, for me individually.
All right, man, here's the most important question of the entire day. Are you ready for it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so your parents were both elite athletes. You have multiple brothers who played college football, some quarterbacks, some other positions. So I got to ask, your dad in his prime, your mom was fast in her prime, Christian, your brother, yourself, you all line up, 40-yard dash. Who wins? Who's the fastest in the McCaffrey family, my friend?
My mom has one 40-yard dash on record that I know of. She was pregnant with my brother, and she ran a 4.59. And so I think I got to give that with my mom, just based off of history.
All right, your pregnant mom is faster than I ever was, and it's not even close. So kudos to Mama McCaffrey.
Yeah.
All right, man. Good luck as the NFL draft approaches. Best of luck in your future. I'll be rooting for you on Sundays, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam.
All right, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Hello? Believe it or not, old phones are one of the most common pain points in offices today. Many of these phones are beyond repair because parts aren't available to fix outdated devices. Whether it's a traditional phone system or cloud-based VoIP technology, Hamilton Business Phones can help upgrade your connection. We make it easy to sync your office phone with your cell for seamless call handling, no matter where you work. If your current office phone can't do this, you deserve better. Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Hi, folks. Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, and the Chevrolet and GMC Truck Month is now underway. We've got huge savings in Louisville. Get $9,000 off or 1.9% for 72 months on select models. Yes, you heard right. That's $9,000 off or 1.9% for 72 months happening right now at Coppell. So take that short money saving drive down 144th Street or check us out online at CoppellCars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with roof credit. Stock number G214773.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
Landmark Implement is your local authorized John Deere dealer. Landmark's trained and certified sales staff will help you find the right equipment for your needs at a price that's right for you, all backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network. Whether it's a tractor, planter, combine, an easy track lawnmower, or gator, every piece of equipment in pre-owned inventory is put through a rigorous inspection so it's ready to work hard for you. Landmark's team works together to make sure everything is sold meets their quality standards. Learn more at landmarkimp.com or stop into a local Landmark location and experience the Landmark difference.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard, increase security, and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Boom. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Adam Carriker on The Ticket. Hope you're all having a phenomenal Monday. No case of the Mondays allowed, but you are allowed to have a case of the Fridays at the end of each and every work week. Now, a couple of things real quick. I know Jake's going to join me as we close out this program. I shot Luke. I think he'd be okay with me sharing this. I shot him a quick text after we finished the interview, just said, hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you. He responded, and he said, of course. And this is kind of cool, which is why I'm going to read it out loud. Of course, thank you so much for having me on. You were the first media I ever talked to out of high school with the Chronicles, and now you're the last one in college. That's pretty cool. Hope all the best. That is pretty cool. I did not know that. I knew I was the first one to talk to him, like Garrett Nelson, some of these other guys who were coming out of high school. I had the good fortune of chatting with them early on, and that's pretty cool about Luke McCaffrey. Got a couple of comments here. All right. Some people might love my response to them. Some might not. So NITEMERE1. I think it's supposed to be Nightmare 1. Said that should be an interesting interview. That was before we brought Luke on. And then after the interview, he said, great interview, Adam. So I appreciate it. Wyatt Gibson with the doink question of the day. And if anyone who's an upper at the station wants to fine me for mocking this comment, feel free. I can pay for it. Confused what the purpose of this is. Are other players that are transferred out also being interviewed? Well, maybe. The purpose was, this was a kid with a bright future who went on to do great things. He was a starting quarterback for us at one point, and I've always wanted to ask him every question I ever asked him. If you didn't like the interview, you can turn off, my friend. Now, I'll look for that FedEx in the mail from the higher ups here at 93.7 The Ticket, because that was a doink question, and frankly, you should be suspended from our mailbag. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jake's going to join me, and I got two questions for Jake real quick. Number one, can you beat a pregnant Mama McCaffrey in a 4.59 40-yard dash? Because my fastest ever was 4.72 at my pro day, and I knew she was fast. Like, she's a world-class athlete. But what? That's insane. Could you beat that? If you had a 10-yard head start, could you beat it?
Probably not. I don't think it would be probably my choice to take on any McCaffrey in a race and think that I could outget what happened. But yeah, no, I think I'd be humbled.
All right, man. What were your takeaways from that interview? Mine is that what a classy kid. What a classy guy. Like, seriously, he could have gone a million different directions. He didn't have to take this. He has no ties to Nebraska anymore. His dad still lives in Denver. He's obviously got ties to Houston, where Rice is. Okay, he didn't have to do any of that. So for coming on, I thought that was cool. And his responses were about as classy as you're going to get. Honest. And what did he say? Vulnerable, yet super respectful. What was your takeaway?
Yeah. Like just to echo your statements. I mean, very, very respectful and nice guy. And had nothing but kind things to say about the University of Nebraska. Which, if you transfer out, sometimes you might think some things, people were against you or something went wrong there. But he didn't necessarily say that. It was just kind of interesting to go through his thought process of, probably saying the writing was on the wall that at least for the time, Adrian was going to take his playing time at quarterback. I think the most interesting thing to me was that he wasn't asked to play wide receiver here. I think that's something that people just kind of assumed is the reason why he was transferred, because he was so set on playing quarterback. You wonder if that staff had maybe the open mind or, whatever it was, whatever held him back from asking, because it was obvious that he could have helped at a different position, just by that Ohio State game. Remember the first 2020? The first play, the first drive of the Ohio State game. Yeah, it was like, man, this might be what our offense is with Luke McCaffrey being kind of a weapon. And they just never really got back to that. And so I think that was the most intriguing part of the interview. But I liked, every step of the way how I was explaining the Louisville stuff and just how he went through the switch at wide receiver at Rice. These are all things that you just kind of made up in your own head about how it happened and how you thought it happened, and to have him come out and kind of clear the air on that was very, very interesting. And like we keep saying, just nothing but respect for him and the respect that he gave to the program and to this program and to everything. Just a respectful guy.
So I don't know the McCaffrey family in depth. I've met Luke a couple times, obviously chatted with him a couple times, met Ed. He was actually the coach at Northern Colorado for a while. He helped build up Valor High School, which is the power football program in Colorado, if you're familiar with that at all. And they all handle themselves really well, really classy. So I appreciate him coming on. And it's interesting. Your two biggest takeaways were my exact two big takeaways as well. When I wrote down that Louisville question, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I'm like, I'm going to phrase this as nice and respectfully as I can. I could have been like, dude, what happened to Louisville? You were there a week. No, it was nothing like that. And he responded even better than I ever asked any question. All right. We got about 2 minutes. So we were talking about NC State earlier. Okay. And they go on this crazy run. They do not end the regular season hot. They win 5 games in 5 days to win the AT&T conference basketball tournament. Now they're in the Final Four. So, all right, bring this back to Nebraska men's and/or women's basketball. You just got to get hot at the right time. Could you ever, and we got to win our first NCAA tournament game with the men first, for the love of all the Tully, but could you ever foresee with what Amy's built on the women's side, and they may even be in a better spot than the men, and what Fred's been doing on the men's side, is there ever, potentially, obviously, the answer is yes, but realistically, could you ever see a Nebraska basketball team, men's or women's, getting hot, maybe even not the Final Four, maybe the Final Four, but Sweet 16, maybe on the edge of Elite 8, who knows? I mean, is that even a realistic possibility in the next 1 or 2 seasons in your mind?
I think it's, I mean, like you said, maybe Final Four is reaching a little bit, but I think there's always these ideas that we have within programs that you like, well, first you've got to get your first win. And then the next season, maybe you can get the Sweet 16. And then the next season, but it, like North Carolina said, it can all happen at once. I mean, you can get one team that gets hot, might not be one of the best 4 teams in the country, but it's the way that the cookies crumble. It's the way that they've set themselves up. And they're just playing who's in front of them and getting the dubs from step to step to step. You watch that Texas A&M game, it feels kind of far away, right? But I think it could happen. I wouldn't necessarily project it to in the next couple of years, but I don't know. It feels like forever there's been this ceiling that holds down Nebraska basketball, and I don't necessarily know if it needs to be there. I mean, they've put some more the money, I suppose, in the university and PBA and all that stuff. We know it's one of the top 10 attended programs across the nation, along with Creighton every year. At some point, Nebraska will get across that line of winning an NCAA tournament game, and who knows from there? Yeah, any special run can happen, and I can't wait for that story. A lot of people thought it could be K-State Tamanaga leading Nebraska, and that story would fit well in March, but didn't quite happen. But the way that they're building this program, I refuse to put a ceiling on Nebraska.
My final thought, and then we'll get out of here. I know happy hour is coming up next. Stay tuned for that fine program, ladies and gentlemen, each and every day from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time here on 93.7 The Ticket. I think for the men, got to get a little bit more, I don't want to say athletic. That feels like a jab, and it's not a jab, but more explosive at the guard position so we can match athleticism and just more physical down low, plain and simple. That's what really hurt us, and Texas A&M shot the 3-pointers of their life against us. But, hey, kudos to them for getting hot. Anyways, I digress. We got to get more explosive up top. All right, and more physical down low. I do think the women's program, now the men, if they win a game, why not 2? Why not get into the Sweet 16? Got to win that first one first. I do think the women's program may be even in a better spot with some of the freshmen we got coming in. Probably Amy Williams' most talented class coming in with 2 or 3 of the best freshmen in the Big Ten last year coming back. Alexis Markowski coming back. Obviously, we're going to miss Jazz Shelley, but I'm pretty excited to see what the women can do as well next year because they're in as good or even better spot than the men. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Adam Carriker. This has been Adam Carriker on The Ticket, the fastest hour in radio each and every day from noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. Well, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday here on 93.7 The Ticket. Until tomorrow, go Big Red, and always remember to throw the bug.